Okay. Hey, happy Monday, everybody. Getting ready to record. Pam grow a beard.
Yeah.
I forgot Pam has, the last time I was on, someone said, Scott, you have to say this expression that Pam says all the time. I'm trying to remember what it is now.
Something and truly.
Really and truly, I think. I really and truly believe that this is going to be a great episode today.
I'm about to sneeze. Oh, never fails. Give me a second.
So, Ricky, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm tired.
We got to kill that, like, no dead air on the radio, Mike.
I drove.
Yeah, we're good.
I drove all day last night, so I'm tired now.
Oh, so you didn't go to Kona for dinner, right? Just for breakfast?
No, I went for breakfast.
Because
I went for breakfast.
they were selling the teriyaki steak last night for dinner.
Yeah, man. Breaking news while I was on the air doing the live show.
That sucks. I missed the steak, man.
That thing was good too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, I just was there for breakfast. So yeah.
Hey, but you had the pancakes. Like
they were huge. There were
so
three gigantic pancakes. I did take them home with me. They were in my bag. I did put pancakes in my bag and carry them around. Yeah.
Only you.
Did Beth Frank call you?
Yes, she texted me.
She was asking me a million questions. I'm like, look, it changes sometimes. Like Ricky was there this morning. I'm like, here's her phone number. Tell her your friend. Call her.
Yeah, she just texted me. She did not get the rise of resistance thing. I didn't either.
Neither did Robert today.
I didn't either.
So speaking of Joe, though, I saw you just popped a message like. When the Falcons announced that they fired Dan Quinn yesterday, like he was the first person I thought of, like he's got to be the most excited person on the earth.
Yeah, it's like, dude, that rebuild it started 2 years ago. Like,
yeah,
you don't even have to go back to square one. Like that's an improvement.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Kona did not have the pumpkin pancakes. Just letting you know. I mean, I know that they're limited. Like, I don't know if they only have them. Like, I would think that they would have them in October, but they don't have them right now. I can tell you that right now. So. I ate there yesterday.
I'm not a pumpkin fan.
I am.
Carve one, but I don't eat pumpkin.
They are. So IHOP every year. I devour some pumpkin pancakes every year when they have them. Yeah.
Dang, I might have to go to Kona in a couple weeks now.
That
sounds so good to say in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sound good.
Come here, Daisy.
We got less than 2 months till the.
Yeah.
I can't complain.
I'm just saying, I got a 2-bedroom villa if anyone wants to join for 3 people. It's like a house for 3 people.
It's all right. It's all right.
I wish I could. Well,
come here, Days.
Come
on. You ate your phone, so I can't help you. You already ate it all.
All right. If you have questions, put them below. We have some in the inbox, and we will get to them.
Mike, you crack me up with your Mizzou, like your new wardrobe now with all that gear.
So this is only part of it, man. I have so many.
Oh my gosh!
Because it was gear day, right? I probably shouldn't say this all money, and nobody's going to tell them. Nobody's going to turn me into the SEC. I can see we go on probation for another 2 years and make it right. Yeah. So they're having gear day, right? At Mizzou for the basketball teams, women's and men's. So every time I go to Pages, I get a pile of clothes, and I mean they're awesome. Like I got a shirt exactly like this, except Missouri. It has the tiger. I got 2 windbreakers. I have 2 pair of Nike shoes that are gold. Mallory's like, you look like a coach. I'm like,
nice.
That is awesome.
I have a Nike mask. I'm all like, I could probably slide onto the field if I needed to.
Probably.
And just kind of be like, dude, I'm the cornerbacks coach. I need to get up. Coach him up. Yeah, I'll be wearing black and gold till like February.
Got it.
Yeah, did Mizzou play last weekend? Whatever. Dude, 4 plays from the 1, and they couldn't get in. What up, LSU? And I called it on the show. Okay, we got to get going. Yeah, Alabama, though. Whew, that Alabama game. Man, I'm glad they won. That was just giving me a heart attack. They scored over 100 points in that game. Not Alabama, but Mississippi State, or Ole Miss.
I read some crazy stat, like Alabama had because if you based on like kickoff to like goal line, they like got 94% of the possible yardage they could have gotten.
I heard that on the radio going to pick up the dog food like 2 hours ago. It was on ESPNU. They were like, they had possible like 796 yards possible they could have gained, and they got like 740 or something.
It's so crazy.
Dude, Lane Kiffin, you got awesome offense. Probably should teach tackling.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. Oh, I got a story I got to share. I'll share it once we get going because it's pretty funny. It would have been better if Scott would have been there, but it was a good story. Okay, here we go. Dude, it could have ended in my death, honestly.
Oh my God.
No, I didn't think about it until that night when I was laying in bed.
Was it on Saturday night?
It was on Friday night.
Okay.
It was before I went to Mizzou. No, because this all happened because of that. Okay. Here we go. Welcome to episode 1780 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Wednesday to you. Thanks so much, as always, for joining us here for more of your listener questions. We take them live here from our Facebook group and on YouTube as we record live every Monday around 5:45 Eastern. So put it on the calendar. Remind your digital assistant to have you join us next Monday. We'll be talking Disney, and you can be here with us as well. So today we've got some great questions. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff Disney related. So sit back and let's take a quick vacation down to our favorite place. Joining us today, she has freshly returned from the madness, the fun of Columbus Day weekend, or Indigenous Peoples Day, or whatever we're calling it right now, down at Walt Disney World. I want to make sure I get it right. And no, all I know is it's busy weekend at Walt Disney World, the second weekend of October. We have Ricky from themouseforless.com. What's up, Ricky?
It was busy. That's definitely for sure. Also, did not realize when I picked the dates that this was Columbus Day or Indigenous People Day weekend. And so I got down there and I was told that, and I'm like, oh, yep. Okay. That makes sense. That's why there's a lot of people. I mean, granted, I think that the parks are definitely getting a little busier anyway. But yeah, I was like, oh, this makes more sense. So.
It's always good to know, what is it? Is there a reason? Because there's sometimes too, it affected our downloads on Monday, and the thing was I'm very much like Forrest Gump. I have my routine that I log in between 8:32 and 8:35 every morning to the computer. I look at the stats, make sure they're getting downloaded, everything's working, servers aren't down. I look and it's not down by a lot, but it's down by 8 to 10%, downloads on Monday. And I'm like, ooh, did they not like the Sunday night? What about Friday? Everybody's tuning us out. But then it must be a bigger deal on the East Coast because it's not a thing here. It never has been. You don't get off for anything.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid, we used to get off for that, this weekend. But I mean, I think that really stopped in the Midwest a few years ago. But yeah.
Even Siri asked me the night before, so Sunday night, said, do you really want to have that alarm at 5?
Yes,
because it's a holiday. I'm like, quit trolling me, Siri. I got to get up. I don't get off.
I know. It asked me the same question. I'm like, no, Siri, I do have to get up. I have to go to work. Thank you.
Yeah, even our digital assistants troll us. It's a wonderful time to be alive. All right, Pam is not here. She's on a little mini road trip, having a good time, I'm sure. So we have our designated hitter from up in the mitten, Scotty G. Hashtag Scotty G. What's up, Scott?
Hey, it's a pleasure being here. It's I always appreciate when I get called upon, when the coach calls me in off the bench. Always a pleasure. And I always have big shoes to fill. Pam Forster is the best out there. So I will try to I will really and truly try to do my best to fill her shoes today.
Good.
Got it. You're covered now. You said the catchphrase. That's it. Okay, so before we get into today's listener questions, I have a story. I haven't told Scott this. I don't think I've told Ricky this, but this is a story that I have to tell. Not really Disney related, but I just want you to know that I had to tell somebody this story because this is something that would happen when Scott and I are together. I could totally the only thing that made this story better was if Scott would have been with me. So real quick, I'm going to condense it so we can get to the question. So of course you guys know I drive a Jeep Wrangler, right? The Jeep Wrangler, soft top. It got a little cold, so I put the top back up, the windows in, ready for winter and all that. Well, we got a little Indian summer over the past couple of weeks. So it got back in the 80s. I'm like, I don't want to take the top off. It's kind of a pain in the butt. I'm just going to take the doors off. So I took the doors back off, no doors on, cruising around. Great. Paige calls me and because we had this relocated LSU Mizzou game you might have heard about. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, called my shot, by the way. Anyway, so Friday night, I'm like, well, I got to drive to Columbia. I'm going to put those doors back on because I'll freeze driving out down Highway 70 for 100 miles without the doors on, at 8 o'clock in the morning. So Friday night, everybody's gone. I don't know where they were. I think Mallory had cheered. Pam was picking her up, something like that. I was the only one home. So I'm like, now's the time to move the Jeep in the middle of the garage and put the doors back on real quick while nobody's here. I have the whole garage. So I have this plan. I'm listening to the radio in the Jeep, pull the Jeep in the middle of the garage so I can get, plenty of room on both sides. I go to pick up these doors. Now the doors for a Jeep Wrangler are like 80 pounds each, right? They're heavy. I mean, they're super heavy. You got to like lift with your legs, put on your shoulder. So anyway, I have the Jeep sitting there, radio on, grab the door, have the window down, because that's how you put your arm in there, put, the frame. I turn around to put the door on the Jeep. The Jeep is gone. It's rolling.
No.
Yes. I forgot to put it in gear. So it was like, that was in neutral. I left the stick because it's a stick. I didn't put it in gear. I turn around, dude. All I see is the headlights rolling away from me down my steep driveway. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So I sit the door down, and this is why I'm podcasting with a bad right wrist right now, because I totally screwed up my wrist on this move. Anyway, so I put the door down, 80 pounds, like sit on this piece of carpet real quick. So I'm running and chasing it down. I'm chasing my vehicle as it rolls backwards. There was no cars in the street. It was a miracle. We always have cars in the street, like from our neighbors. Nobody was home. I was like, I prayed to God. I was like, thank you, because I didn't have to have an insurance claim. Anyway, so I'm running, and of course, no doors on the Jeep. And that was a good thing, because I'm like, I get up parallel with the Jeep and I jump on the side. Yeah. I grab the roll bar, like my feet are in, like, on the frame and my hands are in the roll bar. I'm riding my Jeep backwards from the side, like some sitcom, like The Fall Guy. And so finally, I like throw myself in, hit the brakes right before it runs over a mailbox.
Oh my gosh!
I had the sight of like the General Lee, like you just like jumping through the window, but no doors in this case. So that's exactly how you did it.
And then so I jam the brakes on, stop it, right? And so of course, and we live on a cul-de-sac. There's probably 10 houses pretty close together, and there's always people out in their front yards in our neighborhood. So I get out and I'm like, oh, that was crazy. So I look around, there wasn't a soul outside.
That's unfortunate.
I was exactly at first. I was like, I'm glad nobody saw that. Then I'm like, God, I wish somebody would have had that on video, because that would have been awesome to put on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram, that would have won like America's Funniest Home Videos, like $100,000 prize.
I was so different. So and then that night, like I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking how awesome that was, that it didn't hit anything and I got to have this adventure for like 10 seconds. Because that's how exciting my life is. That's probably the most exciting thing to happen in the last 6 months. But the thing is, like, I'm kind of uncoordinated. Like I was laying in bed, like it's a miracle I didn't get killed. Like, did you hear these stories about people being run over by their own cars? And like, dude, that was like 50-50. That could have been me. I jump, I miss, and boom, the tires run me over, and that's it. That's how I go out.
Dude, when they roll out your greatest hits album, this track is going to be on that record. Like that is the ultimate greatest hit moment for you. I love it.
And that's right. Justin says we don't have a Ring doorbell, but some of the neighbors do, so we do have to get over and see if possible.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
My gosh.
Let's get to the questions. All right, so that was just we're still here and we love it. So so Jessie has a great a great concept, not even a question. She says, I love the show. Thanks for bringing Disney to my ears a few times a week. I had a thought the other day. Many of us are unable to get to the parks among the current landscape of the world, but I would love so much to be able to bring a piece of the parks into my home. Disney has cast members without work and needs to bring in new revenue. They also have empty hotel kitchens. How about if Disney started producing some of the park food that we all know and love and crave and make it shippable? I would love to order some Gaston cinnamon rolls, a Celebration donut, a Cheshire cattail, and many other park snack item favorites. Since I cannot get into the parks, I would love to share a true Disney-made treat with the family at home. Disney's built on creativity. I'm sure they could find a means to maintain quality and freshness and environmental friendliness in their packaging. What do you think? I also consistently order meal prep kits from various vendors that contain all the items I need to prepare a meal, packed cold with step-by-step instructions in the box. How about a meal kit to make some Liberty Tree Tavern or Ohana dinners and desserts? I know what makes the park special. What makes the park special is that you could only get some of these items in the parks, and that all plays into the overall experience of being in that park. But in the unique environment of today, why not try some of this temporarily and generate some revenue and put those chefs back to work? I would love to share some of these items in my home to hold me over until I can return to the parks. Thanks, Jessie. So when I got this email, I thought, because you think about what are they like the HelloFresh and all the subscription services stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a lot of work, but I mean, if they would have thought about this in March, because it's going to take time to put things in place. I love this idea. This would be a great idea, and this could be something sustainable that goes on even when things get back to normal. What do you think, Scott?
Like, I know you don't watch like Disney or Pixar movies, but like when you're explaining this, I thought of like Gusteau's, like in Ratatouille, where the chef is trying to start like a frozen line of like the restaurant food. And that's what I was thinking right here. Like Disney is just going to start their own like Liberty Tree Tavern turkey dinners, like, and I'd be all for it. It's kind of awesome. But I wish they would do this. Like I had a coworker the other day ask me like, hey, how can I get some Goofy's candy company, like candy, like shipped? Like, can I get that on Shop Disney? Like I wish they had like snacks like that you could purchase, because a lot of people are missing that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea too. I mean, she's got two kind of different, distinct ideas. One, you can actually get the item, they can prepare it, maybe get a dozen Gaston cinnamon rolls or a dozen donuts, a dozen cattails, Cheshire cattail, but also the prep kits. I think that. Now, that would be a little bit more difficult, but I mean, the thing is, with Disney, if you think about it, I mean, it's like their hotels. Like you have different demographics. You got values, moderates, deluxes. I mean, I'm sure that this would be a premium service, but I'm sure that there would be people out there that are Disney fans that would be able to fork over the premium too. It's like difference between sailing with Disney Cruise Line and Carnival. I mean, people want to upgrade it. Oh, Ricky, what do you think about this when this email came through and you heard about that?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I mean, I personally have like seriously thought about having Emo's pizza shipped from St. Louis to here. If it wasn't like legit, like over $100 for me to have my pizza shipped, I would totally do it. But it's like literally like well over $100. So that has kept me from doing this. So I've thought about doing it even with stuff like that. So if Disney were able to do it, heck yeah, I'd be all in.
Could you imagine
absolutely
like Casey's like the corn dog nuggets, and they just like ship it to you? Like how awesome would that be?
But you got to have the cheese sauce too. So I mean, yes. So I mean, there's lots of things that I could totally go for some corn dog nuggets right now. Thanks, Scott. I could totally see this working and being a really awesome thing. So Disney's trying all kinds of new things right now. So let's do it. Let's try this. And
you would have these chefs preparing the meals. Now, I don't know if it would be as exciting or as fulfilling.
Oh, yeah.
To be able to throw into, but like just getting all the items in a box. I mean, that's not, but the thing is, it's 2020. You know what? Like we're right now we're in survival mode until things get back. So I like, that'd be cool to try. I like that.
It's true.
Yeah, it's a cool concept for sure.
It's a very cool concept. So let us know on social media. Give us at Be Our Guest Pod, at Be Our Guest Mike. Let us know what you think, and we'll talk about that on the social. All right, Jennifer's got a question, basically asking Disney Cruise Line's being more lenient with the final payment dates, but you still do need to be paid in full to do your onboard activities. So I just want to throw that out there real quick. You do have to have your final payment made to like do Palo and Port Adventures and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to another question from the inbox from Lori Hill. Hey, Mike, love the podcast. I have a New Year's Eve trip planned, and I'm staying at Fort Wilderness. We're arriving on New Year's Eve and staying a few days of the following week. Any suggestions for New Year's Eve plans outside of the parks? Best place to dine that is or will be open. Traveling with my husband and a 13-year-old son and 9-year-old daughter. Thanks, Lori. Ricky, thoughts outside, because this year New Year's Eve, who knows? I mean, honestly, I hate to say that, but I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
Funny. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. What they're gonna do as far as like I know. I mean, I would definitely consider going and getting a nice dinner. I don't know. The first thing I thought of was California Grill, but then they mentioned the kiddos, so I don't know how like much they would enjoy, California Grill. Although
California
I know
Grill does surge charging on New Year's Eve too. It's like a $400 like per person kind of thing. Which sounds awesome, but
in the past it has been, but I don't. This year, I mean, who knows? They may just be like, "Nah, come on in."
Yeah, they're not.
I'm about to say, like California Grill. I look every single night for California Grill. It's my favorite restaurant ever, and like you still can't. The availability is still hard to get right now.
They're not making it like a $22 blue plate.
No, they're definitely not.
New Year's Eve, $500. Go ahead though.
I mean, I'm thinking, try something like I say go to Disney Springs. We talk about Homecoming all the time. So like that's like the first thing that popped in my head. It's definitely not, California Grill, hard to get. So that's kind of my thought. Or Morimoto. I know that a lot of people rave about that. I still haven't been there. So that's another place that you might want to try too. The Boathouse is also excellent. So those are some places that will probably be a lot easier to get a dining reservation for. And they said they're staying at Fort Wilderness, right? So
what about Whispering Canyon?
Well, they could head over to Whispering Canyon at Wilderness Lodge. Yeah, that would be a good option. I don't think there's anything really open at Fort Wilderness though. We just did that show, and there was like only like the takeout and stuff like that. So there's really nothing at Fort Wilderness to eat at. So yeah, I would maybe consider Whispering Canyon too, if you want to stay in the area. That's an option.
Okay. Anything else, Scott, you could offer for Lori?
No, I really like the idea of like something nice. It's New Year's. We want to get goodbye 2020.
Yeah, see you 2020. Peace out.
We're gonna have a nice meal, and to kind of compromise what Ricky was saying, California Grill might be a little over the top, but I like the Wave for dinner as well. I think it's a little more affordable, and it's still like high quality. It's usually nice and quiet. It's nice in there, good for the families. I would go with the Wave. I think it's a good spot.
Yeah, and if you're going to go Ricky's route though with Disney Springs, get that reservation ASAP because I have a feeling Disney Springs is going to be a nut house.
Absolutely.
On New Year's Eve.
Absolutely.
Give you some Epcot.
What about Narcoossee's too? That's an option. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if they will be blocked out either.
I like Narcoossee's. That is a good place. I liked it too.
Yeah.
That's a nice place. All right. Christopher Chabot in the live chat says, hey, BOGP crew, inching closer to our return to the world in early November and trying to remain flexible in our planning. Our current plan is Epcot day 1, Magic Kingdom day 2, and Hollywood Studios to round it out Monday through Wednesday. Looking at touring plans, it appears Hollywood Studios has been the busiest park on any given day with Animal Kingdom lowest in crowds. With Hollywood Studios, and my fiance is not a fan of thrill rides, the goal is to make it on Rise and or Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, along with visiting Toy Story Land. We also have an ADR for lunch at 50's Prime Time, and I've booked a surprise lightsaber build. Nonetheless, knowing we can knock out more rides and experiences at a less crowded Animal Kingdom has me questioning whether we should pivot the last day. Should we chance it and go for the gold at Hollywood Studios or play it safe and get a full day in a less crowded Animal Kingdom? Appreciate all you do and looking forward to your feedback. Thanks, Chris. He's out in New Jersey. That's a really, really good question. Because as I was reading it and trying to think about it, I'm like, God, I don't know. Here's my advice I give to my guests at the Magic for Less. Just the in general advice, and I think it's more true now than ever as far as Hollywood Studios. If you really, really want to do Hollywood Studios and you really would like to do Rise, now this kind of throws it off because he's got an ADR and he's got the lightsaber reservation. But this is what I did in August. My first full day, I do Hollywood Studios. And then if I'm doubling up on a park later, and I know this doesn't apply to Chris, but I'm just saying for everybody else. So if you're doubling up on any park, like you're going to Magic Kingdom twice, like say you're going 5 days and you got 1 day where you can go to an extra park. I do Hollywood Studios first because if I don't get my Rise boarding group, I can pivot on the last day, and instead of going to that extra park, I can go back to Hollywood Studios and have a second shot at Rise. That's what I'm telling people, just in case, if you can swing it, to do it early so that maybe later, the last day, you can go back to the Hollywood Studios and see what happens. Because, we didn't hear this very much for a while, but I'm hearing in the last week, people are struggling getting boarding groups. I mean, I'm hearing it more than I've ever heard it. I've heard it today. I've heard it twice from friends in the last 3 or 4 days. So that's just generally. So Scott, what would you do? Would you play it safe? Would you go to the studios and go for the gusto, like he said?
Yeah, kind of what you were just saying, Mike. He's got the ADR already for 50s and the lightsaber. Like I say, stick with Hollywood Studios. The park hours are a little bit longer there too. I think the crowds really like to leave later in the day at the studio. So if you're planning on staying there all day, I think this is not a knock at Animal Kingdom either. I love Animal Kingdom. It's so hard. This is a really tough scenario to go with, but I think sticking with the studios, try for the boarding pass. And even if you don't get it, I think you're still going to have an awesome day at Hollywood Studios.
I agree. Yep. I mean, even without Rise, now I feel terrible saying that because the friends that I've heard that didn't get the Rise boarding groups have not been on Rise. I've done it 3 times now. So I feel like I have an invalid opinion because I've been on it. So it's not even right for me to say Studios is still a very fun park, lots to do outside of Rise. Easier to say when you've actually had that experience in your back pocket. So Ricky, Christopher, what do you think? I mean, what would you do if this was your spot?
I would keep it the way it is. And I was one of those people who did not get a Rise boarding pass this weekend. Of course, I didn't get there for rope drop. But with that being said, I was ready to go at 2:00. I pushed the join. I had the ability to make all three, there were 3 of us. I had the ability to, select all 3. I was there. I was able to do everything. And then the app did what it does. And it said, sorry, there's something wrong. And by the time I was able to try again, they had sold out. So I had every opportunity. I was right there. I was able, I was willing, I was there doing it. I had the capability to do it. And the app is what stopped me. So I think that's the hardest thing. Like, I understand people's disappointment for not getting on Rise. And I get that. And like you, Mike, it's hard for me to say because I have also been on Rise. I've only done it once, but I've still done it.
Mm-hmm.
I would very much caution people at this point because you could be like I was completely there. I had it and the app is what stopped me. You know what I'm saying? So I would very much like to caution people and say, think of if you do happen to get Rise as an added bonus, but don't really be super disappointed if you don't get on it. And I know that's really hard to say, but there's so many things that can cause problems that aren't even in your control that may make it so that you can't get on Rise. So, and I know that's so difficult to say, but I just want people to know that it's possible even to not get on, even if you're ready to go and you're there and you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing. So that's kind of, and I get the disappointment so very much. But the ride, I think, had to have been having problems that day, which might have been part of my issue because the cast members were all standing out in front. They weren't letting anybody on. The boarding passes were not moving through a lot that day. And so I suspect what happened on my day was the fact that I might have been ready to go, but the boarding passes never opened. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that they knew that they weren't going to get anybody on the ride. So,
well, too, and the thing is, I was talking to my brother-in-law. We went to the pumpkin patch this weekend, with my nephew, and after that, my sister-in-law's down there right now. Actually, she's watching with her crew, Beth and Don and everybody. Yeah. And they got shut out. And I was talking to him, and he's like, here's the thing: is traditionally, if you want to ride an attraction, you can be guaranteed that attraction. Yes. You may only get that attraction +2 for the entire day. If you have to wait 6 hours to ride something, but you're invested enough to wait in that line for 6 hours, you can walk in that park and I am going to get the attraction. Yes. I'm giving up a lot of other stuff, but I am willing to make that investment, where this is the only attraction right now that it's almost it's not a lottery, but
it almost is.
I mean, most people are getting boarding groups, but there are people getting shut out. It's an imperfect system that needs to be fixed.
Absolutely. I've said from the beginning that I hate the system that they use for getting people on Rise. I think that if you want to stand in line, then they should let you, I think that, but I know the problem, the reason they have the boarding pass is because of what I mentioned. They have such problems with this attraction still and getting it running and keeping it running, and they'd have to dump the line constantly. I had this conversation with my brother. They would absolutely have to dump the line consistently because they just have such issues with this attraction. So I get it. But I wish there was a way that we could do standby for this attraction and only standby, but there's not. So,
all right, let's fly through some other questions here because we're kind of getting. We'll make sure we get some in here. So this one's from Lisa Skyliner, Hours of Operation. Hey, BOGP crew, I'm headed back to the world October 19th, and I recently found out a close coworker will be visiting at the same time. I'm staying at Caribbean Beach, and she's staying at Pop. We're hoping to plan a meetup while we're there and would like to use the Skyliner. Can you tell us what the general hours of operation have been lately? Love the podcast and all you've done over the years to keep us feeling close to the magic. Warm regards, Lisa. Anybody know what time is the Skyliner starting operation? It was like 9, I think, some days.
I think it's like an hour before the park opens, I think. So if like Hollywood Studios is opening at 10, I think it's opening at 9 is what it's doing.
Because Hollywood Studios is the earliest opening right now.
And here's the trick, though. I mean, Scott and I figured this out in August. Like, if you want to be on that Skyliner right away, you got to be out there almost an hour before it opens. I mean, it's like if you're going for the Rise boarding group, right? If it doesn't matter, like you're just meeting a friend over Caribbean Beach, who cares? But the thing is, like, I mean, and you got to remember, if you're staying at Pop Art of Animation, you make that switch at Caribbean Beach, you're in the back of that line when you get off at the transfer point. So that I was super stressed. But
if you're at Caribbean Beach, you're way ahead of the pack already.
Totally. And I was feeling it when I was waiting at Pop Century because I knew that. I'm like, oh, this stinks. I'm not even in that line yet. And it's pretty brutal. All right, let's get this. So Nicole's got a question here in the live chat. She says, do you think cast photographers will return soon or much later? Ricky, do you know that? I'm
assuming that she's talking about PhotoPass.
Are they not there?
They are there because I saw Kim this weekend and I got lots of pictures taken this weekend by PhotoPass photographers. So yes, the PhotoPass photographers are there and they are photographing. Yes. Now just keep in mind, you do have to wear your mask while you're being photographed. No exceptions, no nothing. So just make sure you are wearing your mask.
My look, so that's good.
So, but yeah,
that's why I'm growing out the beard.
Yeah, there you go. Mask, yeah. So, but yeah, you can absolutely get PhotoPass photography done at Walt Disney World. You're good.
Good news. And Natalie's got a question. Favorite quick service spot to eat right as the Magic Kingdom closes? Oof. What do you get on the way out? Rick or Scott, go ahead.
So I like this, Mike. I like the long stroll out of the park. So if the park is closing, I want to be way in the back. So Pecosville for me works, or Columbia Harbor House. And then I can kind of take my time walking back as the park is like emptying. So
that's good.
Yeah, mine is always just, it's not quick service, but I like to just have an ice cream on the way out. Like I think you almost need to like treat yourself. You're on vacation, like a dessert at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever, 7 o'clock, whatever time the park's closing nowadays. But yeah, Pecos Bills would be my quick service. What about you, Ricky?
I mean, if I'm doing quick service, Pecos Bills. I'm like you. I would also rather get ice cream and just enjoy it leisurely, as everybody's filing out. If you're looking for, quick service, you also can't deny what Scott talked about earlier, corn dog nuggets and cheese sauce at Casey's. I'm all in. So that's another good option too.
Try to do both. Do the quick service in the park. Then when you get back to your resort, get the ice cream there. Like you're like at Pop, get some ice cream over there.
That's a good plan too. Yeah.
Well, now though, with the mobile order and there's no ice cream.
That's true.
That is the worst.
You can do the ice cream bars.
Yeah, can you? I don't think you can.
Because I mobile ordered at Captain Cook's yesterday, and I'm pretty sure I saw the ice cream bars as an option. I ended up getting a Minnie Mouse cupcake that I brought home with me, but I saw ice cream bars as an option. So
yeah, I don't think they had them, at least in August, like as far as I got a cookie because that was like the only sweet thing they had because I wanted something sweet. And cookies are easy because you can throw them in the bags, right?
Right.
They don't melt.
Yeah.
Like with the ice cream, you're on the clock as soon as you throw that in the bag.
That's true.
Yeah, you're right. Ice cream is tough. So when I stayed at the Boardwalk, one of the 5 places I stayed at this summer, with Ample Hill closed, like there was no ice cream. Like you had to go to the gift shop, and like some of them would sell Mickey bars there, but that was the only ice cream you were getting.
Yeah, you made me the gift shop. Yeah, these first world problems right here.
I know, right? Gosh.
I did ice cream at 10 o'clock at night.
Wait, let me look. Hang on, I got the app pulled up. Hold on. Okay, so I see bakery items. Mickey ice cream sandwich and Mickey's premium ice cream bar are available for options. See?
You better pick that up right away. If it's sitting out there, it's gonna be melted by the time you get it.
Yeah, that just doesn't even seem. I mean, it seems great, but I mean, I would make sure that my bar doesn't melt because that's why I'm there, man. Just saying, somebody's not paying attention and they got a mushy bag.
Well, you have to place your. I mean, you have to select the "I'm here" option when you're at the restaurant.
Then you have kids and you're shopping in the gift shop and somebody's like, look at all this neon stuff. And they're showing
exactly.
Your bar's melted. I'm just saying.
Some bars are worth melting for.
That's true. That's a good one. Sweet. All right. Kelly Fraser has a question here. Hello, BOGP crew. So 2021 is quickly approaching and park hoppers are available for purchase for 2021 tickets and packages. So what does that mean? Will we be able to park hop as soon as New Year's Day? When do you think this will be announced or discussed by Disney? How will that work with park reservations? Thanks for all the great planning, help, and keeping up the great work on the podcast, Kelly in Kansas. That's her Patreon Discord handle. It's just sorry if this has been discussed. I'm a few days behind in shows. I'm always behind, so no worries. Ricky, what are your thoughts on park hopping? Because we can and we have been selling park hoppers on 2021 tickets and packages, but I just think it'll be like the 2020 situation where things have to get back more closer to normal, and I think theme park reservations have to be severely modified or discontinued before people can walk around willy-nilly and go where they want. I mean, God, that was the good old days in February when you could just go wherever you wanted.
Right?
But,
Exactly. No, I think you're right. I think that they need to have, until we have a better handle on things as far as, cases and stuff like that. I think that as long as we have the reservation system, I mean, I can see, I don't know, I could maybe see them opening it up a little bit, but it's going to be really hard to do that with the reservation system. Yeah.
It almost seems impossible to
It almost
because you have no
impossible.
idea. You'd have to say which parks I'm hopping to, and then it had to be a time frame too. So I'm going to go to Magic Kingdom from 9 to 12, and I'm going to go to Studios from 2 to 5 or whatever.
I mean,
that would just be a logistical nightmare.
I could see them doing that though, potentially, but it would. You're right. It would be
logistics of that. I mean, I don't want to think of Disney IT was something that complicated.
No, this is valid. Yes,
because they would have to sweep you out of the park. Because what if you're I'm having a good time at Magic Kingdom, I'm just going to stay here. Oh, sorry, you got to go. I don't know how they would do that.
Yeah.
Get on the monorail, get out.
Yeah.
Go to Epcot. Yeah, it's too much work. I don't think they would do that.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, let's hope. I mean, the thing is, the last thing we ever talk about here on this show is politics, but I mean, Florida is now they've gotten rid of restrictions. I mean, if Disney wanted to roll it 100%, they could do it. They could do it tomorrow. They could get rid of the theme park reservations. I mean, Dan Mullen of Florida wants the swap. 88,000 fans this week.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't happening. I'm just saying that isn't why they lost to Texas A&M, but he thinks it is. Anyway, okay, I gotta go talk. It's in the Paul Feinbaum show. Next question from my friend Taryn down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Quick question. We have a trip planned for early December. Do you know what the atmosphere is like at Raglan Road lately? Are they doing any live music or dancing? We love the food and would probably go anyway, but it would be nice to know whether they're going to have if we're going to have a rowdy but entertaining evening versus a quiet meal chatting with your family. Thanks for all your hard work, Taryn. Well, really, the rowdiness kind of depends on your family,
Yes.
right? I mean, we've had rowdy meals at quiet places, and sometimes it's not a good thing. So I think I have seen at least people sing it, right?
So we went to Raglan Road this summer actually, and there were people out there dancing still. So the entertainment was still going on. Obviously, there's social distancing with the tables spaced out, so it's not like it's a full house. It's not as rowdy as you would think it would be on a New Year's Eve 3 years ago there, but it was still still good entertainment, still going good.
Good. All right. Get your clogs on. All right. Scott's got a question from Dillon, Colorado. Mike, I'm planning my very first trip to the world with my wife and a few friends, October 22 to the 27th. We've already secured lodging and park reservations, but I'm getting nervous about our transportation from Boulder Ridge Villas at Disney's Wilderness Lodge to Hollywood Studios. I keep checking the app and it's saying that it's a 79-minute bus ride with a stop at Animal Kingdom. Does this sound correct? Maybe he's got the link. No, I don't know. Let's see. Do you have any recommendations on how to get to the park quicker so I can secure a Rise boarding pass? I could see sweating this out if it's 79-minute bus ride. Thanks for all the advice and all the other information you provide to us Disney fans, Scott out in Colorado. So Scott's asking, I'm going to throw it. This is Scott with 1 T. This is Scott with 2 T's.
I have not heard of a stop at Animal Kingdom from Boulder Ridge. That's no.
When you just stayed there this summer at Boulder Ridge. So, I mean, you had a car.
So we rented a car, though. But the bus transportation is still working. And, you would just get out there and wait for the bus and make your way over to the studios. I would still recommend getting in line early so that if you're going for a Rise boarding group so that you have that time. So, head out to the bus stop an hour early, but it's not going to take 79 minutes to get from there. I know it's a hike, but it's not that much of a hike.
But I would be there 30 minutes before the first bus.
Yeah.
At least. so that you're on that very first bus and
Yep.
you are on that bus. And it's
Because there's limited guests on the bus right now too. They have it zoned off on the bus, so only like 6 or 7 groups can go at a time. So absolutely, might get there. Whenever they start buses, add an extra half hour on top of that for sure.
absolutely. All right, Justin Jones. Dole Whip is a signature dessert for the Magic Kingdom. If Disney were to brand 3 new park-defining dessert ideas for the remaining 3 parks, what would they be? Bonus for Disney Springs. All right. So I'm going to give one because I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because it could be actually a whole show, but I would say Epcot school bread. Maybe? No?
I like the whoopie pie.
Yeah.
Well, that's mine. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if people
For the general population, you mean?
Yeah, because everybody knows, like, what are you going to put on a t-shirt?
Right.
Anything else at Epcot that's more
No.
hands out than school bread?
I mean,
I'm not even a school bread fan.
no, I'm not either. No. I think that's a good one for Epcot.
We'll go with that. Okay, what about the studios? Scott, you got a suggestion for the studio?
That carrot cake cookie. That's pretty legendary.
I don't eat them either.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
The PB&J milkshake from 50s.
Now you're talking. Amen. Yes, we have a winner.
The charcuterie board. Oh, dang it. Thank you.
And what about Animal Kingdom? Is there?
Dude, there's nothing. I'm telling you right now.
It could be that Tule Canteen, like that weird like blue.
Oh.
Yeah.
Blue cheesecake?
Oh, the blue cheesecake. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I would say the animal poop, but
Yeah, go shout out to the animal.
They took that away from us, so there's no animal poop anymore.
Remember back when that was like our biggest worry in the world?
Oh my God, they're selling treats that look like animal poop.
I know, seriously, like the world was gonna stop. Yeah, right. Okay.
I wish I would have had one of those.
I do too.
But then for Disney Springs, like, I don't understand it. My girls love it. Mike, your girls probably do too. Ricky, you do too. But they love like the sprinkles cupcakes. Like,
oh God, yeah.
I'm okay with them. I don't love them. I'll get them, but I'd say
okay, but we have a place like here called Everything Bunt Cakes.
Yeah, yeah, that too.
It's a cupcake.
But I don't get those. Everyone just like waits at that ATM for the cupcake. Like, that's probably been sitting there for like 2 days.
It's true.
Like,
yeah. I would say anything from Amorette's. I think those like the Mickey Dome cake. The Mickey Dome cake is good, like really good. But my sleeper hit, and I don't think it's open right now though, unfortunately. But is the cookie dough food truck? It is amazing, really good, really reasonable. And it's just like, I mean, I get the taco. It's like a waffle taco thing, like a waffle cone, and then it's got like 4 scoops of cookie dough in it. Oh my gosh, it's so big and so delicious.
Oh my gosh, they had a cookie dough truck at the marathon at the expo one year, Mike. Remember, like you, me, Elizabeth, and Emily, we ended up like sharing it because like it was way too much for one person.
The thing is, let me just give a little PSA on cookie dough eating, is that because we had a cookie dough place at the mall, like you could just get cookie dough, just like you guys are talking about. Cookie dough is dense. It's not like ice cream. Like if you get a scoop of cookie dough and a scoop of ice cream, you can eat that ice cream scoop, no problem, gone.
Yes.
Dude, a scoop of cookie dough can put you on your, like you're, 6 hours.
It's well worth it. It's well worth it. I'm just saying. But yes, it is super dense. Like,
what's going to win Disney Springs though is when that Gideon's cookie place opens.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh. That's going to be a game changer for the dessert.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes. It's going to cost $20 for a cookie, but it's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Oh, hang on. I see an email.
And $1 per pound.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't see this. We have an email that says life or death emergency.
Uh-oh.
We got to make sure we get to this one before we close the show out. This is going to be our last question of the day. Life or death emergency, beignets.
Oh.
Okay, we can relate. Hey, Mike, Pam, and Ricky, and Scott. I have been listening to your podcast for several years now. I've grown up going to Disney since I've been little. My parents bought DVC in 1997.
Wow.
So we were fortunate, and we went a lot growing up. Even though we went often growing up, your podcast has introduced me to new attractions and restaurants I would have never thought I'd known to try. So thank you. Thank you. We tried Pecos Bills for the first time last year and loved it. How's Pecos?
Are you being trolled here?
I think so. Like I thought she was gonna say, some way off in like a Saratoga Springs, a restaurant or something.
The Turf Club.
Yeah, exactly. Pecos Bills, you walk past it 7 times a day. Anyway, We couldn't figure out how we never tried it before. Well, there we
you
go. Anyway, on to my emergency. Beignets. Another thing you've introduced us to. We're doing a week staycation at Old Key West while my husband works remote and me and my 2-year-old son explore. I've been looking forward to riding the boat over to Port Orleans to get some beignets, but realized they aren't open yet. Is there anywhere else on Disney property we can get some? We've been looking forward to them, and it gives me and my son a fun activity to do. Hope y'all are doing well and staying safe. Annie, who may need to enter into Beignet Addicts Anonymous, she says. So
I know of a spot.
Dude,
I stumbled across it. Like, it was the most random thing. Like, they're not going to be like, French Quarter beignets, but like in France, they sell beignets.
Really?
Yeah. I went in there to get a baguette, and then I walked out with a beignet. It was the weirdest thing.
Very similar name sounding, but not the same. No.
But yeah, this summer, we were just doing some exploring, and we saw some beignets in France, which I've never seen before. So there's one spot.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Because I would have said no. There's no beignets on property right now. I didn't know.
I didn't either.
I didn't either. So there you go.
That's why I'm on the show today.
That's right.
Because it was a life and death situation. So you threw out the bat signal, the Scotty G signal, and I was able to answer the question.
Yes. All right. Well, that is going to do it for today's listener questions. Thanks for sending those in. Keep them coming. Mike at BeOurGuestPodcast.com. Drop those in the inbox and just put a listener question in the heading, and we'll get to those right away. Don't forget, today's show brought to you by the great folks over at the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you when it comes time for your next Disney adventure. And, it's a good time to go. We got the holidays coming up. You can go down and see the Christmas decorations, listen to the holiday music, and just kind of get in the spirit. I think we all need that here at the end of 2020. And of course, we're booking 2021 room only and packages as well. Just drop by the magicforless.com while you're there. Fill out that free no obligation quote form. Mention this show right here. It's called the Be Our Guest Podcast, and you and I are going to be working together. So check them out today over at themagicforless.com. Also, please use our Amazon affiliate link, beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. Every time you click through there, it takes you right to the regular Amazon site and really helps us out with those purchases. So use it as often as you can, beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And finally, if you really want to support the show and get some extra content, become a patron. Thanks to all of our patrons, like Kelly in Kansas earlier. It really does help us keep the show going during this time where travel has kind of fallen off a cliff. And I sure appreciate that, so we can keep doing the show 3, 4, 5 times a week. It's my passion. I love sharing all these stories with you, getting together as a community. So come on over, become a patron, and get Mike in the Midwest every Thursday. Last week we talked about snacks that take you back, like zingers. Did you guys have zingers? No,
no zingers for me.
They're like
the white and black cakes.
Well, it's like a little rectangle cake. Yeah, like a little rectangular prism.
Yeah,
cupcake. There's a rectangle.
Yeah. I remember those. Yeah. They had chocolate ones, didn't they?
Yeah, so that's what kind of had really. They had vanilla ones too, but yeah, I always had chocolate.
Yes, I do remember those. Yes.
Stuff like that. Yeah, talked about that. Good stuff. All right. So anyway, that's 3 ways you can support the show. Don't forget Instagram and Twitter at BeOurGuestPod and at BeOurGuestMike. Come on over this week. Search for us on YouTube, and Facebook. So many places.
Yes.
All over the place. And don't forget December 5th, 2020, from 2 to 8, we're going to be live from Give Kids the World Village for the Night of a Million Lights.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 average podcasters. That's really the name of the show. And we're going to be raising money for the village. So put that on your calendar. Either come and see us. That'd be awesome. But if you can't tune in, we'll be live on all the streams as well. All right. Time to get out of here. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you've got auction items, you can email me at bogpauction@gmail.com. I am still taking auction items. So
sold.
Please. Yes.
Sold. There we go. All right. So I'm going to make sure my Jeep is still in the garage until we get together on Friday.
Good call.
That's exactly it. And we love Scott jumping in with us. He's going to be back again on Friday. So for Scott and Ricky and Pam in spirit, I'm Mike. Wish you a great Wednesday. Time to head back to work, and we'll see you real soon. Let me save that one. I'm going to run up and get a Coke Zero real quick because I ran out. What happened?
Mike, I was dying, man, with your story about the Jeep.
That's awesome.
The only thing would have been better is if Scott would have been there.
I wish I would have been there. So I did something similar once. I know you got to get a soda, but like I went to my parents' house when Emily was like 2 years old, like in the back seat. And I just ran in really quick to like pick up my brother or something. And we're talking. All of a sudden we hear like, do. I'm like, we look at each other like, what was that? We looked like the car, like I never put it in park. It just went like straight through the garage.
Oh,
You did damage.
I did some damage. And poor Emily, like I'm glad it went forward and not backwards, like into the street.
Oh,
you
Emily
know?
was in the car?
Huh? Emily was in the car. Yeah, I left her in there really quick because I was coming in and out. Oh my gosh. That's what I was thinking of when you tell that story. Yours is more epic though. I mean.
She couldn't stop the car.
Jennifer's right in the chat. Like, dude, that car, like our cul-de-sac looks like a used car lot. There's always cars all the way around the thing. There was not a car out there. I do not, and even Pam usually parks behind me. Like it would have hit her new car. Like, oh my
That's
God.
crazy.
It was a miracle. Okay,
That's a miracle.
We'll grab that Coke Zero and then we'll do that. Oh, give us that.
Oh yeah.
Well, how do we get to the site real quick? The Mouse for Less.
Yeah, and search annual events.
Annual events. Let me get that pulled up real quick. Man, my computer's slow. I just rebooted my computer too because I hadn't rebooted it in like a month.
Walt Disney World annual and seasonal events schedule.
Disneyland. That's Disneyland. Walt Disney World. That'll work.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh wait, Mallory, will you please bring me a Coke Zero real quick? Real quick. I bet you can't get down here in 30 seconds. That used to work when she was like 6.
Doesn't work anymore, does it? Yeah, I haven't updated this in the sense of like I haven't moved the schedule around. Like normally I'm supposed to move it around, but you know, things stopped in March, so whoops. Oh, Mike's not here. Okay. Alfred,
yeah.
I can look at getting a basket. I can find one probably at Michael's. It's fine.
So what's for dinner tonight, Ricky? I'm like so hungry as we're talking about all those desserts.
Probably hamburger helper.
All right, there you go.
Because I took out hamburger meat and I'm doing this tonight. So, and
Yeah.
I'm the one who cooks. So
Oh man, so
will-
Brian's probably just sitting there like, man, I'm hungry.
he's on his way home for work. So he
Okay.
actually is taking the bus. So he takes the
Okay.
bus so he can do some reading. And
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
yeah, exactly. So he does that. So he'll be home in like an hour probably. So,
Nice.
yeah.
I'm here now.
Hi, Mike.
Hello.
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, so yeah, the page is not like it's not in order anymore because like normally I'm supposed to like update it throughout the like year, but since the world stopped in March, I haven't updated it since March, so you'll figure it out.
Well, it also says February 2021, like 2020.
Because that because I screwed that up. 20,001. Got it.
20,001.
So I thought we'd start with October and go that way from like October back, you know. 'cause
That's
that
fine.
way-
That's fine. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that like it looks messed up, but that's because the world stopped and I didn't have to update things because things stopped
I mean, we
happening.
can do this off the top of our head.
No. This is a good thing to have, though. Trust me. You forget things.
Oh, Kelly's got the answer. Yes, they are taking that as a short-term loan. I mean, unless they do the park hopper, then they'll refund it. You're right, but I mean, it's like our race money.
This is like the Run Disney registration. Yeah.
Exactly. You know what? Now,
Yeah, I tell you what I did.
What'd you do?
So they sent out that thing for Marathon, like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And I said, I want a refund. And then they sent it out again.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I saw
And so
that.
then I selected a different option. I'm curious what I'm going to get now.
You're like, this guy's drunk. He doesn't
I
know.
I wonder if I'll get a third one. The
Oh
third
my
email.
gosh.
Yeah, they just put a third thing. Like, I'm just going to do the half and half, the hybrid option.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Hello, Alan Webb.
So it is storming pretty crazy here in case if I get disconnected.
Oh, okay.
Just-
It's gorgeous here.
It is gorgeous here, too.
Dude, it is like pouring and I just saw some lightning.
That's awesome. Go on. Let's podcast from outside. So we
Yeah,
can
let's
see
do it. Dude, that'd be awesome.
All right. 1782.
Wow.
Everybody's going.
This is for Friday's show?
This
Yep.
is Friday.
Okay.
No football game Saturday. Boo. Stupid Vanderbilt. Here we go. Nope, it's raining in Chicago too. All right.
I tell you, East Lansing and Chicago always has the same weather.
Really? It's right on the line, I guess. All right.
Yeah, it's because of the lake.
Nice. Welcome to episode 1782 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com. And of course, one of the senior citizen agents over at the Magic for
Did you
Less
just call
Travel.
yourself a senior citizen agent?
I'm just saying, it's been a week, man. It's been a week. I feel that way some days. You know, the joints, the weather changes, and work wears you out. You know, my dad is on the opposite side, right? My dad's 20 years older than me. So he's not that, you know, I mean, some people's parents are a little bit older, you know, bigger age difference. He's only 20 years older than me, but this is kind of the first time in his life that he's not working nonstop. And he can't handle it. Like, he can't handle that he has time to do hobbies because he doesn't have any hobbies. He worked forever since he was 20, all the time. So he doesn't know what to do with himself. And I keep telling my dad, I would switch with you in a heartbeat. I'd love to just do hobbies. Like, we can do the show, you know, 12 hours a day, you know, and do other stuff. Well, I'm not saying that, Alfred. Easy, Alfred. We're not doing it 12 hours a day. But the thing is, like, you know, just to do hobbies and not have to work, you know, just to get out there. But yeah, it's funny. But I do, some days I have my senior moments, and this week's been not just one of those days, but one of those weeks. I can tell. All right. So we are going to be talking about the calendar and best times to go down to Walt Disney World and things to consider, especially for our international guests who may kind of, you know, miss some of these holidays that if you're not an American citizen and grew up in our culture, that you could totally forget. And then you get down to Walt Disney World, you're like, oh, what's this all about? And so we're going to talk about the pros and cons of all 12 months to think about quickly as we'll go through this here on a Friday to plan a great vacation. So joining us from the Mouse for Less, where we're getting all this great information, we have Ricky. Happy Friday, Ricky. What's up?
Happy Friday. And I know I put this out at the end of the last show, but I want to remind people, if you are looking to send auction items, I will gladly take them for our fantastic event that we are having at Give Kids World. We are going to be doing an auction with the event in conjunction with it. So we have lots of great items, but if you have anything that you want to send me, you can email me at bogpauction@gmail.com, and I will gladly assist you in getting those my direction. Thank you.
Sounds great. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a good time.
And they can be like things you buy, or they can be like things you make, crafty things. I mean, you know, whatever things you've had around the house, you know, that are Disney related that you just want to be like, here, I had this, I don't want this anymore. You know, that kind of stuff. I take it all. So we're all good. Yeah.
You said crafty things. So could it be like New England Patriots stuff, or could it be like Blue Box mac and cheese? Both craft.
Got it.
You don't get it. Never
yeah,
mind.
I get it. I was ignoring you. So yeah, you're a dork.
Also joining us, Pam is still touring the world. No, she's she's probably home by now, but she couldn't join us as we recorded. So we have the designated pinch hitter for the Be Our Guest podcast, my buddy, #Scotty G. What's going on, Scott? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. You know, there's no better way to spend my birthday podcasting with you two on this lovely day. So.
Yay!
Oh, yeah. Nice. Happy birthday. Well, happy 50th. No, you're actually way younger.
I'm 10 years younger than you, and you're 20 years younger than your dad.
Yes.
So, somebody put together an equation with a couple of variables, and we'll check your work at the end of the show.
There you go. That sounds good. Yay!
No, happy to be here. Happy to be pitch hitting for Pam again and talking Disney with you all.
Awesome.
So birthday weekend, I know you're going to Walt Disney World here very, very soon, but do you have any casino? I think I know you. Like, it's got to be a casino this weekend, right? It has
a buddy of mine pitched the idea around because you can do like sports betting now in Michigan. So maybe place, and Big Ten will start next weekend. So maybe place some bets on the Spartans and the Mizzou Tigers, but they're not playing this weekend though.
Yeah, 100%. I called my shot last weekend. I'm calling my shot again. Hot take. Mizzou will not lose this weekend.
There you go.
I'm going to take a note of that.
Yes.
They will not win either because they're not playing this weekend.
There you go.
Okay, real quick. Okay, so we had the story about the Jeep on Wednesday's show to start the show. You got to tell, well, you got Scott here, the story of Olivia's where we had breakfast in August before we went to Epcot. Speaking of sports betting.
Oh, okay.
That was so fun because we were sitting on the patio. Nobody was around. Yeah. Like we were the only ones out there.
Yeah, so we were not necessarily killing time, but, you know, Epcot wasn't opening until 11 on that Saturday. It was a gorgeous summer morning. So we went to one of our favorite spots, Olivia's, and, you know, Mike, me, my family, we love sitting out on that patio. It's one of the best spots, I feel like, whether if it's for lunch, dinner, or breakfast. You know, so we're just chilling on the patio, enjoying breakfast. And I was like, you know what? we should play some bets. Let's play some horse bets. So I got out the phone. I said, Mallory, you pick a horse. Mike, you pick a horse. And so on. So Mallory and Emily, like they paired up their horses. Then me, Mike, and Elizabeth, we each picked a horse and did a trifecta, which is, picking the top 3 horses of a race. And, I kind of put the phone to the side and then it was time for the race.
We're all watching this thing. Like we're all gathered around.
So we're all gathered around the table, like huddled around watching the whole race. Yeah.
It was the Kentucky Derby. Like,
yeah.
I don't even know where this race happened. It was like in Africa or something.
Yeah, it wasn't in the USA. So Mike just is like, come on, boy. Come on, number 16. Come on, number 16. And then we're all rooting for our horses. And then I'm like, dang, my guy took second. Mike's like, my guy won. And Elizabeth's like, my guy took third. I'm like, hey, we just hit the trifecta. We won like $200. Breakfast is on me.
And we just picked the horses by like their name or their number or like a color. We had no idea because it's some app where they just pick up like any horse race anywhere on the planet and you can bet on the horses.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. I think we're probably the only people that have ever watched live horse racing and betting at Olivia's. That's why it's just fun to vacation with friends down there.
This is what we do. Exactly. This is what we do. All right. So we are going to hop in and let's start with October, the current month. Now we're going to talk about under normal circumstances for a lot of this situation moving forward, because, right now we don't know. So if you're planning, and this came from one of our listeners down in Australia a couple weeks back, and she was going to plan a 3-week vacation to Walt Disney World. But I believe we were debating between going in November or February. And so it got to me, I got to thinking that if you're not from the United States, or you could possibly just miss this if you're not, really paying attention. Kind of like
me this weekend. Yeah, exactly.
There are some things that are like positives, festivals that are happening typically during certain months of the year, but there's also holidays, especially, holidays like the Columbus Day, traditional, the Indigenous Peoples Day that happened this past weekend. President's Day, Martin Luther King Day, that if you're not from our culture and from our country, you could obviously miss, and that's going to affect, 3 or 4 days of your vacation at least. So let's start with October. In a normal October, Ricky, you take October, walk us through pros and cons of traveling in October, because we're going to do 12 months. We can't be very long on any of these.
Don't forget mid-October when they're celebrating Scotty G, #ScottyG's birthday.
Right, exactly. Yes.
Right in the Magic Kingdom. There's just a
yes. Right. So, normally, like you said, October is kind of an interesting month as far as crowds are concerned, because it's lighter than the hectic times of the year. But I've noticed more and more as time has gone on that more and more schools are having fall breaks, which we didn't have when I was growing up. So the fall break concept is brand new to me. So I often forget that fall breaks typically happen around October. And it's usually around this time period right now, because it typically falls around that Columbus Day weekend or whatever you want to call it. So that's something that you definitely want to keep in mind, is Columbus Day usually falls on a Monday, or always falls on a Monday. And so a lot of people take off that week, because they have either that Monday off or they have school, the way fall breaks hit. So that's really something to consider. And so the parks are usually typically a little more crowded in that mid October time period. And then, of course, they get a little crowded at near the end of it, too, because you have to think it's Halloween. So a lot of people kind of go down for Halloween, too. So that's one of the things that we want to talk about is, of course, normally in a year, they typically have Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. And those typically happen in the evenings from like 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. And they happen on select nights. So oftentimes it's usually like a Tuesday, a Thursday. I think they threw in Fridays, and then a Sunday is usually what they do, the party nights. So that will definitely impact your vacation as well, because the Magic Kingdom will, of course, close early on those nights. So you want to, if you are not planning on going to the party, you want to make sure that you head to the Magic Kingdom on nights that they're open later instead of nights that they're closed. Yeah. In
park hopping days, if that comes back, it's a great idea to go to the Magic Kingdom on a party day and then hop to another park, because people that are not, they're not going to go there if they can't hop, because they feel like they get, not their money's worth out of the day.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true. You also have the Epcot Food and Wine Festival, which is it typically starts, I mean, we joke, but this year it did start in July. So, I don't expect it to start in July moving forward, but hey, you never know at this point. They may be like, hey, guess what? That worked. So let's keep it going. So the Food and Wine Festival typically starts in about mid-August and goes through mid-November. But that will be, that's one of the prime things that a lot of people go down in the fall for. So that's also something to keep in mind. One last thing that I kind of want to mention that happens in October that a lot of people don't think about, and next year it will be a big deal, is Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary. And officially that is October 1st. So that is definitely something you want to keep in mind, especially next year for 2021, because I can guarantee you the parks are going to be way more crowded on that date. Of course, we don't know how things are going to look, but they are definitely, I mean, I know I am planning on being there for the, 50th anniversary. I'm already like working it out on how I'm going to be there for the 50th. Like I'm staying on property and I never stay on property. I know we can't book anything right now, but like I've already like set up like the fact that I will be staying on property for the 50th. So I get in to the Magic Kingdom that day. So that's something to consider as well. Usually, depending if there's a bigger birthday for Epcot or the Magic Kingdom, those parks are usually like more crowded on that day too. So I've been to Epcot on the 30th, 35th, that kind of stuff. And, it's the park is a little more crowded. I've been there, the Magic Kingdom on the 40th. That's usually a little more crowded too. So something to keep in mind.
So just a couple things with October. I will say Mallory this year, her fall break is the last week of October this year. And this is something to think about every 4 years when there's a presidential election. The reason they pushed it back to the end of October is because what they're going to do is keep them out of school through that Tuesday. They're going to go back to Wednesday because there's everybody. It's kind of the thing in the last 4 or 5 years to close schools because they're used for elections, especially large like presidential elections. So you wouldn't bring them back for that Monday, no school on Tuesday. So every 4 years, if there's a presidential election, it's kind of looking. If a lot of fall breaks are probably going to tend to fall more last week of October, very beginning of November. Just something to think about there. But I would say summarizing October, a lot of pluses, typically Halloween parties, food and wine festivals, but also above normal crowds because you are going to have a lot of these places having fall breaks. So definitely a busy time, but a lot going on.
I got one thing to say. I know we don't want to keep this long, but like,
well, we might we'll do like 6 months this show. And then
but not depending on where you're from, like it is hot still. Like some of you might think like it is not hot. It is hot. Yes. I go every October basically. And it is hot.
Literally sweat my butt off this past weekend, and that's not a joke. Like I was just like sweating everywhere.
You seriously did like
yeah.
She's not sitting. She's
sitting right now. I'm totally standing. But yeah, no, I mean I was just sweating like crazy. I got home on Sunday night and I said, babe, I have to take a shower because I've been sweating all day at the Magic Kingdom and I can't go to bed like this now. So yeah. It's so gross still.
And if you're trying to avoid the crowds, just definitely avoid the end of the month with Halloween and like what Mike was just saying. And you kind of have to look at the Run Disney calendar too. Sometimes Wine and Dine is like last year, it was the 2nd of November, I think. So they had all these runners getting down there early for the end of October to like do the Halloween stuff first. But sometimes Wine and Dine, and I know this is a transition to November, is sometimes like later in that first week of November. So that all kind of depends on how busy October can be as well.
And I would say too, for all these fall months, you got to prepare to be fluid with the hurricanes. Cause I mean, we've had a very active hurricane season and they do affect Central Florida, not always, but I mean, just keep it in the back of your mind that it could happen. All right. That's a good transition, Scott. So let's talk about November. You can take that. And November, of course, you got kind of the Wine and Dine half marathon is kind of a unique beast. And we've run this one many times together in that there's a lot of things that come together in a typical year. Previous years, you had things like the Food and Wine Festival coming to a close where a lot of folks would come out front of the last hurrah, that weekend of Wine and Dine. The locals come out to Epcot, get their last taste of food and wine. You got the runners there for the race. A lot of times it was also Veterans Day weekend, so people were off. Yeah. You got Jersey Week happening around this time as well. So, I mean, it just...
and you have the start of the Halloween and the Christmas parties too.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean,
and all the holiday decorations, start going up around this time too. Yeah.
So that is a brutal time Mike, I remember one wine and dine. We came through International Gateway, and we just like basically just turned around and said, "Forget this." Like,
Yeah.
I've never the busiest I've seen. I've been. We're talking about New Year's later, but I've been to Epcot on New Year's Eve. I've been, for all these holidays. That one particular wine and dine weekend, I've never seen Epcot so busy. Because you're right, everyone is trying to get that last hoorah for food and wine. It's just that's where all the runners tend to go to, and then all the locals want to get that last taste of food and wine as well. So that Epcot is just a madhouse. The other parks, I don't know. I mean, I'm guilty. I go to Epcot too during that. I fall into the trap, but I can't speak to how the other parks are doing. But I just know that week is especially busy. You throw in Jersey week as well too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Ricky, what else? I mean, it's a busy time unless you go to that. I think you're okay if you go like that middle chunk of November.
I think you're right.
Before Thanksgiving, you got to be there after that first week, and then before Thanksgiving.
Yep, I think you're exactly right. Because Thanksgiving is going to bring out everybody who has off for that week. And they want to celebrate Thanksgiving at Walt Disney World. So that's definitely going to impact people. So that sweet spot is right after wine and dine weekend and right before the Thanksgiving week. I think that's usually the sweet spot. But you do have the holiday happenings that usually start typically around like that 5th, 6th, 7th time slot. And they typically happen at 3 of the parks. So you're going to get them at Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, and Hollywood Studios. Now, Epcot does not get the holiday decorations and stuff until after the Food and Wine Festival ends. And that's usually right after Thanksgiving. Because that's when they kick off their Candlelight Processional is usually right after Thanksgiving. So that's when they do their kickoff for the holidays. So just keep that in mind. If you're wanting to see all the parks in their holiday glory, you're not probably going to see Epcot until after Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely something that I think a lot of people don't think about.
Mm-hmm. So. And going back on the weather too, like you might start seeing it get a little bit cooler. So my wife's birthday is late in November, so we go there sometimes too for Thanksgiving trips. And, we've been to a Christmas party where we actually had to have sweaters and scarves because it was so cold. But then like 2 days later, we're wearing shorts. So you kind of have to pack for all seasons when you go in November.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Point. But I mean, it's a great opportunity to really get in the Christmas spirit early. I mean, because most places back home aren't going to have Christmas decorations up the second week of November. I mean, I guess some if you go to some but I've actually seen some Christmas commercials on TV already. Crazy, isn't it? I know. But because I love the holiday season. I love Christmas music and decorations. I mean, that's great. But
Christmas is exactly 10 weeks away from today.
Oh my gosh, that makes me nervous. Okay. So let's move on to December. We could go through all the stuff that happens, but the thing is, most of these things aren't happening. But we'll do a show probably before the holiday season 2021 to talk about Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell. Because when they bring these things back, I would assume that they're going to plus them because they've had a year that they've stepped away from them. I'm sure everything that comes back will have some familiarity, but it'll probably be changed. Everything, the Halloween parties, the Halloween parties.
Jingle Bell, they just like changed up the Christmas parties last year, so and the Halloween party. So I don't know how much they'll be changing with a lot of that. Maybe Jingle Bell, Jingle Bam. They might. I didn't do it right. Bam. But and they've just brought out the holiday decorations at Animal Kingdom last year, so that's all new. And they introduced the Festival of the Holidays. I think that's what it is. A few years back, they had something similar, but they just sort of integrated it into the Festival of the Holidays. So I feel like they just did a good job of like sprucing everything up as far as the holidays go last year within the past couple of years. So that's good. The one thing I do want to point out though is they typically do, as of right now, which of course not this year, but like maybe this year, I don't know what they're going to do. They've done the filmings of the ABC holiday specials. So in the past, you've had the Thanksgiving holiday special, and then you've had like a mid-December special. Usually it goes on Disney Channel. And then they have, of course, the Christmas. It's not a parade anymore, but the Christmas Day parade extravaganza, whatever, on Christmas on ABC. Those are typically filmed in early November at this point. It used to be December. Then they moved it to the end of November. And now because they're doing it for Thanksgiving too, they've really pushed it up to like the beginning of November. That's another thing you want to keep in mind. guests are not allowed to be part of it anymore. They typically fill the scenes up with cast members. And they're not blocking off Main Street anymore for the parade, that kind of thing, because typically at the Magic Kingdom and at Walt Disney World, they will film performances that take place. So it'll be musical groups and things like that. The parade, the last few years, has been filmed at Disneyland. And again, they don't really film much of a parade at this point, but it's a lot of entertainment acts. Again, I don't know what they'll be doing this year, but that's something to keep in mind. Obviously, moving forward, is it's typically like that first or second weekend that they film for the ABC holiday specials.
All right, let's move on to December. I'll take this one just briefly because, of course, December, if you look at it in general, it's kind of a tale of 2 months. You have December from the beginning of the month until you hit Christmas, and then from Christmas to New Year's, the end of the month is a whole different beast. The one thing for 2020 I will say is that typically in December, at the beginning of the month, you got to watch something called Pop Warner, the Pop Warner Football and Cheerleading Championships. What that is, it doesn't really affect you too. It's kind of like the cheerleading events that typically happen in the spring that Mallory does in early May, is that it doesn't really affect crowds in the parks all that much. It's not that bad, but you cannot get a value hotel during Pop Warner, even some of the moderates. And also for the cheerleading in early May, 6 months out, you're not getting a value. Like, it's just not happening, because that's where all of us cheap parents, we pay all our money for either football or cheerleading. We're broke. We got to stay at a value. That's how it works. And the thing is, this year, obviously, there's no Pop Warner. So it is a good time to go down in 2020, first week of December, because this is an opportunity that you can take advantage of. Now, I will say, I've been looking for guests. We only have one value hotel right now. Pop Century has very, very limited availability, if none at all, at the beginning of December, but there are deals at Coronado Springs and Caribbean Beach. I checked that today. Mm-hmm. So if you want to go down, that's a good time to kind of kick off the spirit. Of course, none of the holiday happenings are happening, but I think a lot of people, I don't know. I mean, this is kind of an interesting thing. Scott, what do you think from Christmas time, like from Christmas Day, say the 24th, 25th until New Year's? What do you think it'll look like this year? Because, I mean, typically people go down once the kids get out of school, right, for Christmas break. But I mean, if ever, there's a lot of kids still at home doing distance learning. I mean, do you say, well, forget it, this time we're just going to go like the 12th to the 20th? It doesn't really matter. I mean,
that very well could happen with the distance learning. As you know, I'm one that's all for like taking the laptop with you on vacation and doing some work and doing some schooling. So I could see that playing differently, thinking like, hey, I'm going to beat the crowds, but the crowds aren't going to be what they were like unless they change the rules after the time of this recording, where they open up more capacity or not. I mean, we've seen this weekend, at the Columbus Day weekend here in October, the crowds are pretty high. There's long lines for things, but I think that's almost at its peak. Like, I don't think it's going to get any busier than that later this year. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could definitely see people just heading down like mid-December, checking things out so that they can be at home with the rest of their family during the holidays instead and still get that Disney trip.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good thing for all Disney fans, because what you want to do, and I think what Disney would like, is if people would do that. I mean, I wish they would almost incentivize mid-December, and there are discounts out there through December 24th. Yeah. So, if you push it out a little bit earlier, because obviously, I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, from December 25th to January 1st, busiest week of the year, every single year. And I go all the time that week, and you can have a great time. I mean, we get our Fast Passes, we get our ADRs, and there's so many things going on besides your, riding Space Mountain and Pirates of the Caribbean. You can look at the holiday decorations. You can go to the resorts. You can go over to Fort Wilderness. You can, see shows that only happen seasonally. There's so much. It's a great week to go, as long as you don't mind crowds. This week, it's all bets are off, or this year, it's all bets are off. But I still think there's going to be that group that it's kind of traditional. Like, they go, they do Christmas at home, and then they're like, well, we want to get some warm weather. Maybe they're from Michigan. Maybe they're from Missouri. It's like, I got to get some warm weather for a week, and it's just what we do. And we're going to go down. No.
And it could just be people. We talked about this on a listener question that was planning like a New Year's Eve dinner. Maybe it's just like, I just need the celebration to put 2020 behind.
Yep, that's true.
A lot of people could be doing that this year.
I mean, what better place to, that kind of gets into the end of the month, but New Year's Eve, to kick off 2021 and hope that it's way better. So, Ricky, what else do we need to consider if you're planning a December trip, especially this year, but maybe moving forward traditionally?
So, I mean, definitely, I think we've hit the nail on the head. Pop Warner, I'm glad you mentioned that. That's definitely something that you want to think about. Again, you've got Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. It follows the same pattern that typically happens with the Not So Scary, that it is select nights. So the Magic Kingdom will close early on those select nights. And again, they're typically the nights I mentioned before. Candlelight Processional typically happens in late November through December 30th. That date's usually a hard date. And the more popular the performer is that does Candlelight Processional, probably the more crowded Epcot's going to be that day. So if it's Neil Patrick Harris, you're probably going to get more people who are going to want to come out to the park than, if it's somebody else. So
that's going to be interesting for this year. Have they announced if they're doing that or
they're not doing it this year?
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, they've already announced that they're not doing it. So no candlelight. And a lot of people are disappointed, of course, rightfully so. And then as far as New Year's, I mean, yeah, it's just like a gigantic party, so that's you're just going to be surrounded by normal years, everybody and their brother,
no dragon this year.
No dragon this year. No.
Well, I mean, they haven't announced it, but I mean, I can't imagine they're going to have 7,000 people on top of each other with a fire-breathing dragon in China.
No.
Awesome as that is. But here's the thing, and I got to just jump in here real quick, Ricky, about New Year's Eve, because I just don't want to miss this because you guys are all on here. We've all done New Year's Eve together many times. And the thing is, for any Disney fan, you absolutely have to do Epcot. Once we get back to normal, you absolutely have to do Epcot on New Year's Eve.
Correct.
It's one point in your life. Because, I mean, we've all seen New Year's Eve, and like, we love the flute loop, in Japan that you hear during the normal day, and the Oompa background loop in Germany. But I'm telling you, you have not lived until it's just techno music around World Showcase in every country. There's fire-breathing dragons in China.
Correct.
There's discos going on in Japan. I don't even know what was happening in the UK, but it was awesome. We were hanging out with them. We're like, is this what life's like in the UK? And it's like, no. And we're like, it's awesome anyway. We don't care.
Yes.
It is just really cool.
The rave that happens in Italy. Oh my gosh, the rave that happens in Italy.
Could you imagine if you lived every day of your life like that?
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm just saying, it's like, the thing is, you have to you got to take your traditional Disney hat and just toss it off.
Oh, yeah.
And put a New Year's hat on instead.
Yes.
And you blow your horn. But the thing is, you can't be like, oh my gosh, Walt's rolling over in his grave because there's technology happening. No, you just throw it all out that night. It's
amazing.
Much rather be there than Times Square. No offense to Times Square, but I want to be at Epcot.
I want to be at Epcot.
That's where you need to be.
You still need to line up for 45 minutes to take a pee. I mean,
exactly. It makes me so mad because like this year I would have been able to go down to Epcot for New Year's Eve and celebrate. And I'm like, dang it, 2020, why you got to ruin it again? Thanks a lot. Yeah.
This is making me sad again. I was happy thinking about all those great memories.
I was so happy. Now I'm sad again. Yeah.
Anyway, we're just going to go through March, by the way. I've just made the executive decision.
Okay, got it.
It'll be a 7-hour show. Okay, so that's December. Moving into January. So the big thing to think about in January, a couple things planning. Marathon weekend happens the second weekend of January, typically. Obviously not happening in 2021. Oh, so sad. All those miles, all those wasted miles. But the thing about Marathon weekend that's different than, say, a Princess or a Wine and Dine or a Star Wars is that Marathon weekend is obviously 4 races, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the runners tend to come in for a week. I mean, the runners will be there for 5, 6, 7 nights. And it does impact the hotels and it does impact the theme parks, but the runners typically bail out starting on Wednesday night. They'll get out of the parks by dinner time back at their hotels because you got to get up at 2:33 in the morning. So, if you're somebody that's not running under normal circumstances, the evenings in the parks are awesome because the runners are all gone. So that is something to think about. Also, Martin Luther King holiday weekend, it can be a nut house, which is, I think, always the third weekend of January. It's always
third Monday is the
third Monday. So that's something to think about, especially if you're an international guest. If you're only coming for just a little bit of time, that would probably not be the best weekend to come. But you do have Festival of the Arts, which is one of my favorite things to experience. So that's a plus for January. So Scott, what else to think about in January?
Festival of the Arts that's my favorite festival for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the three of us all agree on that. It's I don't know what it is, if it's like low key or just different. Like I love all the art that's going on. I bought in a bunch of art from that festival actually. The weather is great. Just You know, you compare the weather, and that's one thing I want to talk about. The weather in January is, I mean, it could be hit or miss.
It could be cold, it could be hot. Yeah, but I mean, it's you know what? I'll take my chances. It's definitely better than St. Louis because it's for sure
absolutely better than Michigan. I mean, if it's 45 degrees, I'm still gonna wear shorts. Like you'll always point me out, like, oh, that guy's from Michigan or that guy's from Missouri. But I love the weather. You hit it right. Like once you get past that Martin Luther King weekend, it will start to calm down a little bit. Like that last week in January, I think is actually a perfect time to go. But the problem is a lot of people might be thinking that too. So if everyone's listening to this podcast and look at the calendar and see all that, they're like, oh, bam, I'm going for that last week. And then everyone's there.
Yeah. It's a good time to go, though.
It really is.
And Pam jokes about this, and I say this a lot too, that if you're from any of the northern places, even if it's not, super warm, if it's not in the 70s, when you go in Epcot and you see flowers that have color or just the green grass, I mean, by January in St. Louis, everything's been brown for like 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, it's so good to see things living.
It's yeah. So if you come from that area, so I can tolerate, I say this all the time, I can tolerate winter, like in December, you got Christmas and all that, then you got New Year's. But when it comes, I know we're about to transition to February. When February comes, like I am over it. And I need to see something green. I need to see a palm tree. So that's like I always do marathon weekend, but I like to go in February too, even if I'm not doing Princess, just to find a week somewhere in February, just so I can see some green or the sun, because I haven't seen the sun probably in 90 days in Michigan either.
That's true.
You have your seasonal affective disorder kicking in major by then, because
absolutely.
Like, let's get out of here. Yeah, fast forward me to like May at that point. All right, so we'll get February and March in here before we get out of here. So let's talk February. Traditional, Ricky. So we got a race weekend. We got a festival going on. What else?
Yeah, so Princess is usually that third weekend in February. You still have the Festival of the Arts, which is continuing, and that goes till about the mid part of February. And you have some more interesting events that happen. Typically, there's Super Bowl, which oftentimes happens in some Florida region lately. So yeah, a lot of people come down for the Super Bowl, and they will. And there's also the Pro Bowl too. I think that they have the Pro Bowl in Orlando. They've had
they did a couple of years. I don't think it is anymore. I think it's going to Vegas or somewhere else.
Okay. So, a lot of times people will come down for the Super Bowl. You also have Valentine's Day, which is the 14th, which, it doesn't really affect crowds. The one thing that does affect crowds, what?
Cupcakes.
Yes, it's cupcakes. Valentine's Day cupcakes. Yes.
Elizabeth and Emily got a rose when we were at there last year at Pop Century. They gave them a rose.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
There are two things that really affect, actually, I guess I should say, in February. One is President's Weekend, which is that third weekend in February. And then the second one is Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras next year for 2021 is February 16th. And they typically, a lot of people from Louisiana will come.
Oh my gosh.
It's like Ed Ogeron and all his kin.
Yes, they all come to Walt Disney World. It's true. So
our first visit was, I didn't think about this. It was during Mardi Gras. This year it was in March, our first visit. And I couldn't believe the amount of LSU and Saint stuff. I said to Elizabeth, like, are we in Florida? Like, did we travel to the wrong place? Is Walt Disney World in Florida? Because I am so confused.
It is true. They just come in droves from Louisiana to Florida. So that's something
awesome. Like, I've never, because I've been there too. Obviously that weekend, especially Princess, is always Mardi Gras. Yeah. And it's always so fun to ride buses with like big family. And it's usually like larger families, like grandparents and, grandkids and the 10 of them all in LSU gear. And they're the greatest people ever, but it's so fun. But I mean, it's purple and gold everywhere, or black and gold. It's great.
Yes.
No, they wear their Saint stuff too. Yeah.
I mean, they only wear football gear. That's it. I mean,
it's true.
Forget the Pelicans.
It's true.
That's true.
The other thing you want to keep out a mind for is a lot of times in this section of the year they have the Disney After Hours events, which typically happen at the Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom. And what it is it's a hard ticket event that takes place for 3 hours on select nights after the park closes. So it's not impacting necessarily. The parks may close like maybe an hour earlier than they typically would have, but it's not really impacting things too much, but it's just something to consider. If you're going down, you may want to take advantage of the Disney After Hours events. They're kind of a cool experience. So
Man, remember in 2012
Yeah.
on Leap Day when they had like the one extra Disney day? Like,
yes, I went
That was awesome.
for not for that one, but I went for the one that was the 24-hour day.
I did one in Memorial Day.
Yep,
yeah.
that's the one. That's one I did. Yep. So
And
it was
just for the
crazy.
record, there's nothing wrong with only wearing football shirts and stuff. That's all I've
Yeah,
had
look
on.
at Mike wearing.
I mean,
I mean, you're like a sideline coach, right? Or like a special teams coach.
cornerbacks. Cornerbacks. I'm breakdown. Okay, here. Do you have to watch a video for that one?
Sorry.
One other thing after February, the greatest race on earth, Daytona 500. Probably brings people.
That's true.
Well, that's always that's President's Weekend too, I think. So it's like isn't that always President's Day weekend?
I think it might be before that.
I think it's before that.
I thought it was the same weekend. Oh.
No,
But it is in February, I think.
it's in
typically.
February. Yeah, it's in February. Yeah.
I can't believe you missed that. Your
I'm
husband-
sorry. I know. And I've been to Daytona, not during this weekend.
So basically, if you want to avoid crowds on weekends, just go for the first weekend in February or the last.
Last. Yes.
All right. Well, let's do March, and then we'll pick it back up next Friday with the remainder of the year. So March. Now you're getting into the really good weather, but it's starting to get warm in March. We got the beginning of the Flower and Garden Festival, which is awesome. It's so gorgeous. Epcot never looks better.
It doesn't.
Trying to think what else. So Ricky, what else do we have in March? that I'm missing?
So in March, of course, you have spring break. A lot of times spring break starts for especially for college age kids. But elementary school, high school age, they sometimes, it depends on when Easter falls, that they can sometimes get on it too. You also have St. Patrick's Day, which happens March 17th. Doesn't really affect the parks too much, but if you've ever been there for St. Patrick's Day week or weekend, you understand that Raglan Road at Disney Springs does a fantastic job with just going all out they have this huge festival that happens. So you might want to avoid Disney Springs that weekend because unless you really want to go, because
That
it's
sounds
super
awesome.
crowded.
I would go there. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's super crowded. You also have during this time of year, you have competitions and exhibitions that are happening. So like cheerleading and band competitions and other kinds of competitions that are happening at this time too.
So I always consider spring training too. So a lot of people like me from baseball towns, that are in the cold, they want to go down to Florida to see the green grass and the blue sky, but they might want to catch a couple ball games too. So they'll plan a Disney trip. They might not be in the parks every day, but they might do some rent a car. And my team, the Tigers, are super close to Walt Disney World, so they might go to Lakeland to see the Tigers play. Yep. And then the Braves aren't there anymore.
No, they used to play at ESPN. Yeah.
No,
they don't anymore. No.
But that could bring out some crowds too. It's just generally people just want to see some nice weather in March. Yes. Epcot is a gorgeous time to see it.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, I got to get me a Lansing Lugnuts hat. I follow them on Twitter. They are awesome.
Yeah, the Lugnuts are awesome, man. My brother's been a season ticket holder since day one. So we went to the inaugural game in 1995. I remember it was 35 degrees outside.
Yeah, you've been assigned to the Lansing.
Yeah. I know this is a side conversation, but the company I work for has the naming rights to the stadium now. So it's kind of cool.
You got to have a suite then, right?
Come on. We do. We do have a suite.
Yeah, I'm saying. Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah. So, and the thing is, March is a good time to go because you're going to have more consistent weather. It's going to start getting warmer from the beginning of the month to the end. You're going to not have really those cold snaps. You don't have to worry about that because it can still be. It can still snow in St. Louis in March. That's actually usually when we get our biggest snows, kind of the last hurrah for winter. We'll think, oh, well, we're out of February. We're not going to get snow. And then we get hammered mid-March with a big snowstorm. And then it's all gone. Then it usually breaks after that. But March, really good time to go. But as we move forward, because out of those 6 months that we talked about from October to March, because we're just going to leave it at this and we'll get back to this next week. If you had to pick like a week for like, everything, like, I mean, you got extra experiences, but low crowds, you pick 1 week in that 6 month span. What are you picking, Scott? I mean,
that is so tough.
What are you doing?
Because I like the holidays. I like the dragons in China and all that. But I honestly, and it just goes back to the memories I had on our first trip. I'm going in March, just to get. I need that taste. I need to get out of winter. I need the taste of hope that summer is coming. And see the beautiful, flowers and Epcot. I like the. How about this? The third week in March. I know there's spring break crowds, but I can deal with that. I just want to see, like, you're almost going to be guaranteed that the weather is going to be pretty good there in March. You don't have to worry about hurricanes or, some colder weather. The weather's going to be gorgeous. I'm going to March. And palm trees.
I'm thinking a lot like you. I'm going that Princess weekend because I like to race under normal circumstances. I like getting in the race, but I also like that this is not a crazy race weekend. It's very laid back compared to marathon. You're coming off a marathon, especially if you're a runner. You've trained for marathon weekend. It kind of carries over into Princess as long as you just don't stop. You're kind of already trained up. It's it's not going to kill you. Usually great running weather, and just you got the Festival of the Arts is still going on. Everything looks, again, it stinks back in St. Louis that time of year, and I'm getting to go where it's, get off the plane, like you can feel the humidity. You're like, oh, I hated humidity back home for 6 months. I love the humidity. It's February. It's so great. So yeah, I would do Princess weekend. That'd be my best out of these 6. All right, so 6 months. What do you got, Ricky?
So I am going to choose something different, even though I do agree with you both. I think that time period is key. I will probably choose that week between like the Veterans Day weekend and Thanksgiving in November. That way people can see some of the holiday decorations, and it's still warm-ish. Not necessarily warm all the time, but you still got the warmth a lot of the time period in that span. And it's again, the crowds are not dead, but it's not, crazy crowded. Yeah. So I think that's probably going to be where I'm going to suggest.
Put you in that holiday spirit too.
Exactly.
It's a good time to go.
Yep.
All right. Shout out to Malcolm over in the UK. Just joined us live. And we just talked about you, buddy. We talked about a wicked fun New Year's Eve that we got to spend together at Epcot. So you can go back and listen to the show. You just missed that. It was so fun. All right. Here's some whistling. I'll let you drink.
Oh, it's me. Sorry, I was drinking. Yeah, my bad.
Like whistle behind me. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. We'll tackle April to September next Friday, so stay tuned for that. But don't forget, today's show brought to you by the great folks over at the Magic for Less Travel. When it comes time for your next Disney adventure, an adventure's out there, and it's going to be back before you know it. Get those plans on the books. The thing about a Disney vacation is it doesn't hurt to throw down a deposit, guarantee that hotel that you're looking for, those dates, because they have a great, if you got to cancel, you got to cancel, full refund up to 30 days in advance. Right now it's 7 for the rest of 2020. So you have plenty of opportunity to get all your money back if things don't work out, but you can guarantee that you're in the right spot at the right time. And so just drop by the magicforless.com, check out all the great trip planning tools. While you're there, fill out that free, no obligation quote form. Mention this show, the Be Our Guest Podcast, and you and I will plan that trip together, and I'd sure appreciate that. So check them out today over at themagicforless.com. Also, please continue to use our Amazon affiliate link. We sure appreciate that. beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And a huge shout out to our patrons. You are making all of this podcasting possible, and I can't thank you enough for that. Become a patron yourself and get some extra content in your week. Patreon.com/Be Our Guest Podcast. Give us a follow on social media, Instagram and Twitter at Be Our Guest Mike, at Be Our Guest Pod, and search for the show on YouTube and Facebook. We've got the videos from all the shows over there as well. Sunday night live show coming your way this Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. We take your calls for an hour, talk Disney, have a good time, talk the news of the week, all kinds of stuff. So put us on the calendar this Sunday night. And who knows? Maybe there's football, maybe there's not. You never know these days. So join us for that. All right. And don't forget, December 5th, 2020, we're going to be live from Give Kids the World Village for the Night of a Million Lights, raising money for the best charity in the world, in my opinion, They do awesome work down there. They take care of all those donations. They use the money the right way. And we've always rallied around them, and we're going to do that again this year. We're going to take 2020 that's been pretty terrible and for a lot of reasons, and we're going to turn it on its ear right there on the December 5th. We're going to make this year awesome. We're going to close it out the right way by supporting the village. So put it on your calendar, join us live here on Facebook or YouTube, or better yet, if you're down in Florida, join us and see the Christmas lights with us. And we're going to be broadcasting live and having a great old time, December 5th, 2 to 8, right here on all of our sources. All right, Scott, thanks for joining us this week. Sure appreciate you coming on and pinch hitting. It's awesome.
Yeah, always happy to be here. I'm no Pam Forrester, but I'm here whenever you call. I'll always be here.
You are definitely not Pam Forrester.
No. She's got the looks. She's got the brains. I'm just, I'm
You're
coming
just
up
a
from the
guy
lug
in
nuts
neon.
as a minor league guy coming in the pitch hit.
Coming in from the bullpen from lug nuts. We have Scott.
Yes, exactly. I like it.
All right, we are going to get out of here. Let's get on with your weekend. Enjoy it. We have no Mizzou football this weekend, but what can you do? I'll just watch some of the team, I guess. Do what you can. I guess I get to go watch my daughter cheerlead for a weekend because it's been lining up. The Mizzou games were the same time as she cheerleads, and she was kind of getting mad at me. So this is going to kind of help me get some points.
There you go.
All right, for
Works
Ricky
out.
and Pam and Scott, I'm Mike. Wishing you a great weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.
Yay.
All righty.
Sweet. I survived this rainstorm. Oh my
Yay! That's good.
That's where I'm going.
Dude, Taco Bell?
I'm gonna go make hamburger helper.
Oh my God, there's so much to do in every month. I was just thinking about when we were
I
talking
know,
about that.
right? Yeah.
That was crazy. But I mean, I think we did a good job of kind of hitting the good stuff
Yep.
to think about. But there's no way we could do 12 months in one show.
No, for sure.
All right,
I will
y'all.
see you guys. Take care.
See
Thanks,
ya.
guys.
Bye,
See
Scott.
ya.
Happy birthday.
Hey.